Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey with Clarita, the podcast where we will discuss valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Subscribe now to Begin, Build, Blossom, and let's embark on your business journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Hi, Dennis. We had a good time talking about your business as we recorded the podcast. I just thought we'd step back a little bit and talk about the product itself and what you do. So maybe, I know you talked a lot about raw materials. So can you tell us a little bit more about what those raw materials are, how you source them, and how you actually use them in the business?
Okay, my main raw material is timber, or as you would say, wood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I try to use mostly local wood in most of my products, but there are times when I import wood, believe it or not. Simply because it's not available here. And there are certain aspects of my products that I just cannot rely on local wood for. So, I need to import some of those. Well, it's just a plywood, because of the grade of the plywood and how it works with the machine. So I need to order it. Also, I use a lot of acrylic, and I used to import the acrylic until I realized that I can get it locally. So now most of the acrylic that I use is obtained locally. And I use substrates like mugs, pre-made items where you can just print on there. You don't have to do anything to it. And 100% of those items are ordered because you simply cannot get it in St. Lucia, right? So going back to the wood, I do a lot of engraving and cutting with what is called a laser machine.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what happens is that I mostly use sheet material to do that. So what I do is that the local wood that I get, I turn it into sheet material of the varying thicknesses that I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I would sand it down, apply a clear varnish, which is water-based, is good. That's a varnish that I encourage everyone who's using the laser machine to do, because it has a low content of VOC, volatile organic compounds, and harmful stuff. So I apply the varnish to it and I store them there. So whenever I get something to do, I design it and then I engrave, cut, and assemble, and boom, there you go. You have your product.
Okay. And let's talk more about the products that you're referring to.
Okay. Most of those products happen to be awards and trophies, like I was saying before. Yeah. And I cater to events like graduation ceremonies, customer appreciation, employee appreciation, birthday gifts, wedding anniversary, you name it. And also, souvenirs that I supply the vendors with. So I do a lot of pen holders, picture frames. Yeah, those are the items, and key rings as well. So those are the items that are normally highly requested. Also, the non-wooden items that I do, like I said, mugs, I use a method of printing on them called sublimation. It's just a transfer method. I just transfer everything on there using, various pieces of equipment.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned vendors. So it sounds like, okay, in terms of how you sell your product, do people come to your workshop? Do you distribute to vendors? And if you do, how do you build that kind of relationship with vendors?
Okay. There are specific vendors that I work with which have approached me. I never really approached any of those vendors. They approached me, they're like, hey, I saw somebody with something and I need some of that. Yes, and then I work out the details with them. I produce it. Some of them are from the area, so they come to me to collect it. I have a few of them who are based in Vieux-Fort, so I deliver to them. And Vieux-Fort is a place that I frequent. Yeah, so that's not a problem. I tried to establish some links in Castries, but that didn't work quite that well. I guess because of the distance and I'm hardly there, so.
Okay. So when you say vendors though, are we referring to like the vendors that usually sell to the tourists? Are we referring to businesses or individuals?
Yeah. So I work with the tourist vendors and also with businesses and institutions. So I work a lot with the schools, especially during graduation and sports. You know, they always want a little trophy because again, the wooden trophies and awards, they're relatively something new. And there are schools that are looking for something that is different and something that is also, how would I say it, is not very expensive, something inexpensive. Yeah, so my prices are quite competitive because again I use a lot of local wood. You know, so these things are abundant supply, so that helps to drive down the cost of production tremendously.
Okay. And when you talk about pricing, in case there's somebody out there trying to figure out how do you price your product, like what advice would you give there?
Okay, the method that I use is that I calculate the price of the raw material. So let's say I buy a board. I buy a board for like $80, right? EC. So usually it's $10 per board foot. So I know 1 square foot of that board is worth $10 EC. So what I do is that I look at the amount of wood that I use in the product. Okay. And I might use wood and acrylic in one trophy. So I calculate the amount of acrylic that I also use. And then I factor in labor, and also I factor in something for electricity, which is not much. Yeah, when you look at the amount of electricity, really not that much per item, but I still factor it in because it's a cost. And then profit, the profit margin.
Wow. And you do all of that like by yourself? Do you use any systems?
Mostly by myself, and I've developed a foolproof system. You know, sometimes I didn't want to say that too loud, but especially when it comes to the award, I look at what is already existing.
You don't say it if you don't want to because you're talking softer, but it's like you're being recorded. So don't get into it if you don't want to. It's fine.
Okay. Well, it's something that a lot of businesses do. I mean, you just look at your competitor's price and then you try to go a few dollars lower.
Okay. As long as you're still making a profit.
Right. Not too low because you won't be making a profit.
Right.
Yeah. Also, what I do is that I try to work with a price range. So I know, let's say if I'm catering to preschools or primary schools, they don't usually have a big budget. So I develop something within their budget for them. Right.
Okay, nice.
And that's my approach with everyone. Let's say, okay, how much are you willing to spend? This is what I can give you for that amount.
Okay. All right. So you cater to their needs, what they need at the time, and their affordability too.
Right. And the other thing, because it's customization, especially with the trophies and awards, I can always scale up or scale down.
Okay. Based on how much customization is made.
Right. So they're like, okay, you see this thing? I like it, but it looks more corporate. Can you scale it down so that I could give it to a child in preschool, you know?
Okay. Makes sense.
Because this is what I have. I cannot afford this right now. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Some of them, once it's scaled up, they're like, hey, I want something big. Money is not an option. Like just...
money is not a problem. Just give it to me.
So I can scale it up. I can embellish it a bit more, you know?
Nice. Okay. And do you like markets like weddings? Like, is that something you've looked into?
It's something that I looked into in the past, but I haven't really given it much attention of late.
Okay.
Yeah, because to me, weddings are supposed to be collab. Let's say, okay, there's this wedding planner that you work with, and she says, okay, I want this, that, and the other, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I find it's too cumbersome for me to try to penetrate that kind of market just by myself.
Oh,
It's
okay.
too much work.
So maybe as you grow more of a team, that's something you can look into.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. And in terms of actually learning the skill, I know you mentioned that you did woodwork at Sir Arthur Lewis. So how did you take that skill and now be able to, because you've changed what you do a little bit. You said you pivoted. So let me go to me being an accountant. So when I studied accounting, right?
Yeah.
But when I had to actually open my practice, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know accounting, but how do I apply this here? How do I
Right.
how do I focus on what I'm supposed to do for this client
Mm-hmm.
in terms of using the systems? How do I use that system? I would be afraid of making mistakes, and that sometimes keeps me behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's one thing knowing the thing, but then to actually apply it to your business, what was that like for you?
It was a very easy transition, because believe you me, I still use a lot of carpentry in what I do. A lot of the principles of carpentry. For example, the products that I make out of wood, I still use joints in them.
Hmm.
Yeah, back when I did carpentry, I would make the joints by hand. I would use, let's say, a router or a saw to make the joints. But I don't do that anymore. The machine makes the joint for me. So I design the joint. I design them to fit into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that same principle of joints, it's still there. Also, another thing that I learned during my carpentry courses is that anything that you cannot hide, you make it apparent. So if there's a joint that you're trying to hide, or there's some detail that you're trying to hide, but for some reason you cannot hide it, just use it as a design element.
Hmm. Wow.
So make it more apparent. Yeah. So if there's one, let's say I join two pieces of wood and there's a seam right down in the middle that does not look good, I just cannot hide it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do, I create a series of lines that look the same. So it becomes a pattern.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's like a life lesson there to me.
Right, right. So if you cannot hide it, you just emphasize it
Yeah. Wow.
and it no longer becomes a problem.
Okay. All right. So from what you told us before, you wanted to always do what you're doing now.
Right.
You went through a process to get there. So I'm thinking when it came from actually leaving the teaching job to now working full time, like what was the thought process? What were the things you considered? How did you know that it was the right time to make that move?
That's a very good question because I waited until I was almost done with my student loan. In fact, I quit teaching after I finished paying it. Yeah, coming to think of it, yeah, I waited until that financial burden was off my back because I didn't want to go into business full time. And then lo and behold, let's say I had maybe a bad month or two. And then all of a sudden I cannot meet my monthly financial obligations. So that was one main factor that I considered. Hey, I'm waiting until I'm done with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Another one that I considered, which was quite, how would I say it? That was quite fascinating is that, my cohort of students, they were currently at the time that I was really thinking seriously about leaving, my students were in Form 3. And we had developed that bond. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to leave them stranded. Probably I should wait until they graduate and then just get out of the system. But I left a year before they did.
Okay. Okay. But it's nice that you actually thought about that though.
Yeah, I had to go because I think the timing was everything was right. I stayed in the teaching profession for a long time, not really being a fully qualified teacher.
Meaning?
Meaning on paper, having to go to teachers college and say, hey, I went to teachers college. Now I'm qualified, that kind of thing.
So you qualified in the field. I mean, I know you went to university, but in terms of the teacher side of things, you had not gone to teachers college.
No, I had not gone to teachers college. And then pressure was mounting for me to do that.
I see.
Yeah, and then they were like, Mr. Cazaubon, you need to apply. You need to apply this year. And then I applied. And then I got a call like, hey, you accepted, whatever. When are you coming in? And then I just kept on giving them dates and I never really went in. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not coming back. So never mind.
So it was not something you really wanted to do.
No.
So that helped make your decision. Okay.
Yeah, because that's one thing I was staunchly avoiding, to spend money qualifying myself as a teacher, knowing fully well that I don't intend to stay. Yeah, I just didn't want to do that.
Okay. And you mentioned just now bad month. So what does tell us a little bit more about that? So being in business, some days plentiful, or maybe at least you make good money, makes you feel good, and some days probably you make nothing. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, well, I think ahead, because I have responsibilities. I have a son, which financially I have to be there for him. There are bills that need to be paid. So what I do, the months that are plentiful, I lay by in store, so to speak. So, I have my accounts and then I always make provision for a bad month or two. Yeah. But, so far I haven't really had months where it was so bad that I could not meet my monthly obligations.
Okay.
Yeah. There have been times when I was just able to do that and nothing else. Yeah. But there's never a time when, it was so bad that I had to be going to my savings or, stuff like that. No. I hope it stays that way.
Yes. I hope you just keep doing better and better and you don't have to know what that's like.
Right. I wouldn't want to know what that's like at all. I know it's not easy, but...
Okay. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. And in terms of retail, do you have any plans to open a storefront?
Well, that's another very interesting question because I'm really changing the dynamics of my business. Actually, that is something I do not want to do. I wanted to do it when I just started, but over the years I learned that, hey, having a retail outlet comes with certain responsibilities. I most likely would have to pay rent. Then I need to get someone to be there all the time because I cannot be in two places at the same time. And then that person has to be really trustworthy. Someone who has to be honest, because my friend that I alluded to earlier on, he had a little situation happen with one of his employees. So, and the main reason for not wanting that is because I want to focus on bulk items. So what that means is that, okay, I produce one design and I replicate that design like 50, 100, 200 times.
Even with customization?
Even with customization. It might just be a name change. Yeah. Because what I learned over the years is that it's better to have one customer who wants 100 items of the same rather than having 100 customers who want different items. That's a lot of work, too much work. And that comes with having a location where people pass by and they say, I like this thing, but can you change whatever, this and that and the other? And then you have 20 persons coming in one day wanting things changed. Already that's too much pressure. So the plan is to, instead of having an outlet, I want to focus on marketing the business, like creating a product and targeting certain business places, institutions, going to them and say, hey, look, this is what I have. Give them the advantages of tapping into that product, getting them interested, and trying to get a commitment from them. They're like, okay, we like that. Can you supply maybe 100 of those every month or every 2 months? That sort of thing.
So you'd be on the shelf anyway, in some storefront, not your own. You'd be in different storefronts.
Right.
Well, yeah, I like that.
I want to do it differently.
So what about like the hotels and, those places, Point Seraphine, where the tourists would probably get a lot of exposure to tourists as well? Is that something you'd consider? Or?
Technically, not really, because I've had certain customers, potential customers, approach me, and then it's like they want to make my prices for me. They want to determine the prices. I'm like, no, we're not going there.
Okay.
So I don't want that middleman aspect to my products. So I want to be the one producing and then, hey, to the customer one time.
So I like how it sounds like you know what you do not want. So I'm thinking, is that like from a lot of trial and error?
It is from years of exposure and experience.
Okay. It's important to know what you want, and it's also important to know what you don't want. So I'm really glad to see that you have a good grip on that.
Right. Let's say, for example, another aspect of the storefront. I didn't really have a storefront, but back when I marketed a lot on social media, I got a lot of customers, but like I was saying before, I would have probably gotten 50 customers who want 50 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only that, but most of those customers were located in Castries. So I would have to take some time if I couldn't get there's a particular individual who did deliveries for me, but she gained employment, so I lost her. So I would have to go do that myself. Now that is taking away myself from my business. And then the pressure of producing totally different items, like, editing photos. Sometimes the photos are not of good quality. So it really took a toll on me. And then I decided, hey, you see that thing? Maybe I should just focus on items, no matter how small, but those items that you can just design once and just replicate. Yes. So that's the main approach. And it's been working well so far.
So I was just saying, as we come to a close, is there something you wish that you knew before you started?
Oh, yes.
And you now know, help somebody who's coming along?
It relates directly to my business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some of the production processes, I wish I had known them earlier, so I would have just gone straight into it. Yeah, so I would have been like much further. Maybe Grambling was a good experience, but had I known these things early, I don't think I would have gone to Grambling.
Oh my gosh, I would not have met you, Denis.
Yes, we would not have met other, But seriously,
right?
Yes, some of the things that I know now, trust me, if I attended Grambling, I probably would have done accounting or something.
Why accounting?
Because I saw a lot of opportunities in accounts. My roommate, he studied accounting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he got scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
I got nothing. Even when we applied for scholarships, they're like, yeah, no, there's nothing for you guys.
So what did you study?
I studied drafting design engineering.
Okay. And is that helping you with your current business?
Not at all.
Okay. So you still did not do what you actually studied?
No. And I wish it was possible to sell the degree. I would have sold it. And cheaply too.
Oh my goodness. Okay. But I can see, had you studied accounting though, I could see, let's see. That would help you with your current business. Like maybe you would not do the accounting yourself as you grow, and you need an accountant, but you would know, you'd know some things, like some things you probably need to put in place to make sure that, the financial health of the business is good. So, okay. But I guess when you said you would have studied accounting instead, is that what you meant? Or it just meant there are more opportunities in accounting?
Well, I'm looking at opportunities. Right now, my degree the opportunities are very limited, especially in St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told you before, when I went job hunting, everybody's like, wow, your paper looks good, man. But we simply don't have enough money to pay you. Honestly, Right now, I do not want to work in my field at all. That's something I've retired my degree. I don't want anything to do with that.
But you're doing this amazing work that you love. So it sounds like no matter what you studied at university, you probably would have still come back to this.
Maybe, maybe not. Because I had certain plans at the time. What I'm doing now actually is not what I was really interested in at the time that I attended Grambling. I was into my carpentry,
Mm-hmm.
strictly carpentry. So had I gone a different route and did, let's say, accounts,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would not have gone into carpentry, and maybe it would not have metamorphosized into this right now.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, nothing is good or bad. It's just circumstances, the circumstances at the time, because there are endless possibilities of what I could have been doing in life.
Mm.
Yeah, I could have been doing AC and refrigeration. I could have been a doctor or whatever, but it so happened that I'm doing this right now.
And do you love what you're doing?
I love what I do, absolutely.
Okay. And that does bring up a point though, like, as we go through the processes, because I remember talking to a guest one time and we were talking about how go to school and it's teaching you to like go work for somebody and
Right.
like there's a system. But then when you break out of that and you actually go out to start off your own business, like that's in itself is a risk because you're going outside of the norm in a sense. So it makes me wonder, like, we think one of the things you have to do is go off to university, go off to college, study something. Sometimes you don't even know what you really want to do in life yet you go study something that you probably never use after university.
Right. Because you need to work for someone.
It makes me wonder. So if you think about that now, it sounds like you probably would not even have gone to university. Not even so much about doing the accounting if you had a different choice, but you probably would not even have gone to university, it sounds like.
Right. That's what I meant. I would not have gone, but I'm saying had I gone per adventure, I would have studied something else. But the first choice would be not to go.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Stay away from that. My son, I have my son coming up. I mean, it's his choice. If he wants to go, then fine. But I'm praying to God that he wants to become an entrepreneur. I can help him in that aspect. It doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing presently. But if his idea is good enough and it's novel, why not?
Okay. So you support that because right now, usually, if you tell your parent, you know what, I'm going to do something I love, they'll tell you, well, at least go to school, at least do this, at least do that. And sometimes you end up going right back to where you started. Granted, it's with new perspective, new knowledge, and all of that. But it sometimes makes us wonder, what if we had just gone directly to what we wanted to do? Like, wouldn't that have saved us a lot of money and a lot of struggles along the way?
It definitely would have saved us a lot of money. Well, speaking from the perspective of someone who did university, who took a student loan. But going back to my son, I think he would be at an advantage because, I mean, having me as his father, I would have been an entrepreneur. I know a few things about it. So I can advise him on, give him certain tips. And also financially, I'm also trying to prepare for that eventuality. That if my son comes to me with a proposal and he says, Daddy, this is what I want to do, I don't have any monies, that there would have been something, maybe not, even if it's not sufficient to do what he wants, but he could probably use it as collateral to...
It's a start. Like being able to have that start makes a big difference.
Yeah, something I never really had,
Right.
Yes, I'm trying to make sure that actually he gets that start.
Right. So by us venturing into entrepreneurship, we're creating, we're being examples for our kids, right?
Right.
And hopefully if the kid comes to us and say, Mom, Dad, I don't want to go to college, I want to start my business. Hopefully our mindset would have been different enough to be like, okay, go do it. I'm going to support you. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I need to know what you're going into make sense.
Well, there's another aspect of it.
Yeah, because like we were saying, back then the notion was different. It's like a lot of value was placed on formal education, like university and whatnot. Yeah, and then our parents discouraged us from becoming entrepreneurs. That no. Even farming, something as basic as farming. If my son tells me he wants to be a farmer, and then he has a very detailed plan on how he wants to be a farmer, then I will encourage him. But if he comes and he tells me, Daddy, I want to be a farmer, but you still want to use pickaxe and cutlass, no way. Yeah, you come to me and tell me, Daddy, I want to be a farmer, but I want to be a commercial farmer. I want to use tractors and, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. All right. I enjoyed that conversation very much. It gives us a new perspective on things, and
Right.
it gives us a lot to think about. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. Do you mind again letting us know where people can reach you?
Okay, Facebook and Instagram, Sankofa Creations. I think there's 758 at the end of it. And also WhatsApp, my business number, 758-284-0564.
All right. And just a reminder that Denis is happy to speak with anyone about his business or just entrepreneurship in general. So please go ahead and reach out to him. All right. Thanks again and have a good one. Until next time.
Thank you. You likewise.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, a CME Accounting LLC podcast. Please subscribe and be on the lookout for our next episode. If you'd like to share any feedback with us, please email us at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com.